Hello boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm for Classic and welcome to BenchART. So for today, what I do have needed is Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. So as usual, I decided to try out all the game runs on the GTX 1650 Super because first of all, the minimum requirement says that you need a GPU that it is equivalent to a GTX 1060 or an RX 580. So the GTX 1650 Super it's pretty much at the same level, sometimes slightly better, but they don't really specify how much GPU memory you need. And in case of the GTX 1060, I believe they were saying that what you need it is a minimum of 6 gigabytes of VRAM. So why I'm saying all of this? I'm saying all of this because I'm playing with the 1650 Super with the graphics on the low settings, and this is not low settings, this is potato settings, because look at those textures on the floor. So what is happening is the game is not loading the necessary textures to display the low textures. So yeah, we are not even having low textures in here. We are having potato textures because we don't have enough VRAM. It is a little bit weird because when I do look to the GPU memory usage, I see some VRAM being available for it to use, but the game is not making use of it. It just default loads the potato texture quality, and this is exactly what you get, and that's pretty much that. So I decided to avoid that because I know that there are people out there with GPUs similar to the 1650 Super, so I did find it curious. I thought that somebody could feel curious about it, I mean, and see how the game performs with GPUs similar to this one, but with more VRAM in case you want to try out. And performance-wise, the low settings does offer a performance in between the 50 to 60 to 70 FPS. I did the tutorial. This is pretty much a first second mission. Um, and I mean, performance is pretty much at this level using the low settings. Although the low settings, despite, yes, textures are not loading, we are missing out a lot of stuff, like screen space reflections, like occlusion. So low settings, it is essentially a potato setting in case your PC can't handle all the settings. Then I decide to move on to the median settings over here, while keeping textures on low, because as soon as I change textures to median, the game says that I'm out of VRAM. But what it doesn't say to me is that low textures, we are also out of VRAM. And that's a failure that I think that it's a little bit weird. So with median settings, basically the performance, it is above 40 frames per second. I think it's a good balance when it comes to settings, despite it's hard to understand what it changed, because these textures looks really bad. Basically, you start to get reflections, you start to get some occlusion, so you get kind of the bare minimum. I wouldn't say the bare minimum, but the recommended minimum you have for not losing the art style of the game if you have a GPU with GPU memory. But essentially, like I said, it's like this. I have above 40 frames per second. I'm not sure if I did tell you, all of these settings have been using FSR 2 on its quality mode, which means that we are upscaling from 720p and reconstructing using FSR to 1080p. Man, okay, so this is pretty much the performance level that I did get with the median settings. Then I decided to move on to high settings with FSR. So here we go, let me just show you off the settings. So I'm here, FSR2 on its quality mode, and I'm pretty much just using the eye preset with textures obviously on low. Even if I raise the textures, in case you are in doubt, if I raise the textures to medium or to high, the quality remains the same. We just don't have enough memory. So the 1650 Super is really out of the question for this game. When it comes to texture quality, it's entirely broken. It's hard to recommend. I don't recommend, I mean, just buy this game when you have a GPU with more memory. I believe that even an integrated GPU won't be having this issue as long as you have enough RAM. But on the eye settings with FSR, I mean, performance is pretty much the same. Actually, it seems like we are having more FPSs on the eye settings than on median, but this is because I suspect that it's already happening an issue in here with the eye settings using FSR, which is basically some enemies are invisible because the GPU doesn't have enough memory to render them, and the enemies just get invisible. Without recording, this also happened to me to the main character. The main character just started to be invisible because there were not enough GPU memory to show you the main character that you used to play. So I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, it's just don't play with the 6050 Super, seriously. But still, I decided to even go further and go with the eye settings without FSR. So here we go, settings, exactly the same settings. The only thing that I did change, it was instead of using FSR2 on its quality mode, I'm using native TAA. You can go with native FSR2 if you want, but I decided to just keep it simple and use native TAA. And performance is weirdly very similar to the minimum with FSR. Which is a little bit weird though, but it's lower, alright. It just keeps above 30, 40 to 50. But I mean, this is when I started to understand that there was an issue. Some enemies, you won't be able to see them. They will be invisible. I started to receive damage from some enemies out of nowhere. I started to perform executions for enemies out of nowhere. I started to see splashes of water on the floor out of nowhere. So basically some enemies were just entirely invisible, and I mean, what the hell was happening? And then I understood that I was just pushing way too much. I think I already saw that message when I've gone with the low settings with FSR because textures didn't load. But I mean, come on, this is just bad, alright? You have to have more than 4 gigabytes of VRAM if you want to enjoy Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. Alright, that's the thing that you should know. So my conclusion is, don't play the game if you have this card. Upgrade first, then eventually buy the game. Look at this, an execution of an invisible monster over here, like I told you. And wait until you see monster shooting out of nowhere. Look at that, there is absolutely no one there. So I think it's everything. This is everything that I want to talk. Guys, thank you a lot for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Goodbye.